He's on TV everywhere right now and in the middle of a major media tour, which is why we're so fortunate to have with us the one and only Dr. Ryan Braverman.
18 years ago, I finished high school. From there, I went on to college, graduated with honors, and then from there to earn my doctorate degree. I graduated magna cum laude. I won the Health Center Award. I went on to clinical internships and advanced neurology externships. And in the past 18 years, I've read many books. I've even written a few. Every single day of every single week, I speak out in my community about health, wellness, and abundant living. What I learned in 2008 was something that changed the entire course of my life. What I learned in 2008 was what death looked like in a man that was still living. See, almost 10 years ago to the month, I opened my health and wellness practice degree in hand. I was ready to go. I was ready to help people. I was trained really, really well, but I'll let you in on a little secret. I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to keep the lights on or keep the doors open or pay my rent. I wasn't sure how to do that, but I knew I wanted to help people. And for those of you out here that are thought leaders, entrepreneurs, doctors, I'm sure you can relate. So I did what any world-changing visionary doctor would do. I hired my sister. Because if I figured that if I couldn't make payroll, she'd give me another week or two. And she did, so I did, so we did. She helped me help other people, and she was so smart. She was the best person you could have work for you. She was always on time, and she did everything that was asked. And one summer night, almost 10 years ago, she didn't show up to work. And she was never late. So 10 minutes passed, and I called her, another 10, another call. 30 minutes later, I left her a message, but still she didn't show up. And I was the oldest of 5 growing up. It was 5 of us in our crew, all mostly from different fathers, so you can imagine how that family life went. And we were different but similar, but we loved each other. We were family. And my brother Anthony, he was the 3rd oldest in the crew. And he was struggling a little bit. He was failing this class and failing that class and experimenting with alcohol and cigarettes and hanging out with the wrong crowd. But school really wasn't for him. It didn't matter if he missed class. I mean, he didn't want to go to college, not because he couldn't go to college, because he wanted to work with his hands. He wanted to be a mechanic. He wanted to fix cars. And he was always fighting with my stepfather, being a rebellious teen, because he'd grow out of that eventually, right? Wrong. On that summer night, my sister eventually did come in, and she walked through the door, but when she did in the reception area, she was different, I was different, her eyes were different. She was crying. She had tears in her eyes, and we brought her back to my office because we didn't want to make a scene. We had patients there. And as soon as that door clicked, it shut. She broke down. She could barely get it out. She told me she had been keeping something from me for the past few weeks. My brother Anthony was kicked out of the house a few weeks earlier because he almost burnt it down 3 times. My stepfather called the cops that night right there. They said, you have to come, and he has to leave. He has to leave right now, and he did. And he packed one of those contractor bags full of his stuff. And as he put that bag over his shoulder, he walked out of the house that was once his home. And home he had no more, he was on the street. So my sister was about to tell me my worst nightmare. She told me not only did my brother get kicked out of the house, but he had a heroin addiction. And I was like, no. Heroin, not my brother. Maybe he's smoking some cigarettes, maybe he's failing in school, but heroin, no. That's for the real drug addicts. That's for the ones you see on TV, the ones with the needles. Not my brother, right? Wrong. The reason why my sister was late that day is because as she was coming to the office, she passed by a McDonald's that was near our house, and she saw my brother laying in the street next to that bag that he left the house with. He was still breathing, but when he looked at her, it was no longer the brother she grew up with. He had death in his eyes. And later that day, I saw my brother for the first time in a while because I was out doing big things, right? Earning my degrees and my accolades and helping other people. And I finally saw him, and it was no longer the brother I grew up with. He was skin and bones, he was dirty. His clothes were tattered, cigarette burns in his hands and on his arms, track marks from the needles. It was no longer the brother I once grew up with. He had death in his eyes. You see, at that moment right there, I was questioning myself. How did I miss this? Why did I miss the signs? I could have done something, one more conversation, one more meal out to eat. I could have fixed this. That was my nightmare. The nightmare I was sharing with hundreds of thousands of people across this country whose family is suffering from the same thing. You see, 80% of heroin users actually start with prescription drug medications. Heroin is an epidemic in this country. Opioid use is an epidemic in this country. Prescription drugs are an epidemic in this country. I see people in my office every single day that come in with pain and sickness and disease, and we never know what pill will turn into the next needle. So I'm committed. See, I couldn't help him then, and I live with that every single day. And I don't know how that story is gonna end up. My brother, thank God, he's still with us, but he struggles with that battle every single day. But drug use and drug addiction is a problem that he'll fight with for the rest of his life, and I'm just thankful that I get to see him. But I'm committed now to teaching, educating, empowering people across this country on what real health actually is. Healing and health from the inside out, the way God intended it, the way your body intended it to heal. My purpose is simple. I don't want you to feel what I felt. I don't want you to fear what I feared, and I don't want you to have to go through what I've gone through. My purpose is simple. I want people to live the life they were created to live, to do the things they were created to do, and be the people they were created to be, and fulfill their soul purpose the way God intended it to. So I want to thank each and every single one of you here at Harvard. I want to thank Harvard for having me share this message, not just for myself and my family, it helps, but for each one of you and people in your communities. Thank you, Harvard.